And go. We are live. Hi, Resident Sunshine. Thank you so much for joining us today for a new episode, November episode of the Great Makers podcast. And today I have two amazing guests that coordinated their shirts in order to join us, especially for you, talking about branding. No, I'm joking. But Joel, Dan, thank you so much for joining me. I think we wanted to talk for so long about the link between branding, the adventure that personal branding is, especially that it's like super on trend on LinkedIn and everywhere. We talk about that, but also mental health and resilience and the human aspect of it. I think quite often we kind of lose the human part when we talk about branding. So it was kind of good to get your brains and talk about this today. But before we dive into this, please, guys, can you take turn to introduce yourself to the audience and your own definition of resilience? Dan, would you do us the honor?
I'll go first, am I? Okay. Yes, so I am Dan. I am a freelancer under the moniker Iron Dragon Design, and I've been freelancing for just shy of 10 years now. So I've been through quite the ringer in the UK, as you can probably imagine. So my definition of resilience is actually elasticity. I think that being too rigid is actually a bad thing. And for me, having that ability to move and be agile and to bend with things but not break is a really important part of resilience.
Yeah. So the elastic comes often because it's like this capacity to expand. And we debate a lot actually about it, especially like once I had tendonitis, and it's like about the tendons that like go elastic, and when the elastic goes stretches too much and breaks, and this is like where nothing is completely
No, of
um,
course.
unbreakable.
I feel you have time to readjust in that. If you feel that stretch, you have time to readjust, and that's where the resilience part comes in.
Yeah, that's what makes it actually unbreakable, I think, or in
Mm.
my own opinion, is because you can adjust as long as you're there, of course, and you can learn. But how about you, Joel? Last time we've met, you had certain views on resilience. I'd be keen for you to reintroduce yourself to the new audience today, but also share with us your definition.
Okay, so first of all, thank you. Thank you for the invite. This is always fun. It's going to be a fun conversation because Dan and I have a lot in common, even though we have some small differences here and there. Our paths professionally have been very, very similar. So I'm Joel, right, from Portugal, brand strategist and designer, and I'm the face. It's going to be an interesting point in a moment. I'm the face of Growing Design. I work with my partner, and we help people with mostly solopreneurs just like us with brand strategy, design, and marketing. So everything you need to build a strong online presence. My definition of resilience is we were just talking about it. I don't remember quite well what I said last time, but right now I see it, and the elastic thing is a really good thing. I like that metaphor. I'd never heard it. The ability, not even the ability, the needs that we have to be able to bounce back, recover, realign, readjust, but not just that, readjust, rebalance, get back on track in a stronger way after a hiccup, after a struggle, after something that happened. Yeah, I sit there now because I need this idea that if something happens, you're resilient enough to endure it, get back from it, but stronger. As in, you learned something from it, you adapted, you're better than before the hiccup, before the hurdle, before the issue. I think that's where I'm at right now. And regarding to what we're going to be talking about it here today, the more experience I get, the more I see it as an absolute non-negotiable if you want to dive into any of this. And I have a few questions actually for you specifically, Mona. It's an interesting thing to talk about.
Yeah, I love that. Love questions. It's very rare actually that we get this setting because usually we have three guests and myself as the moderator. But I've included myself today because we really were dying to mix our universe, right? And I want to invite the audience to drop in the chat in the comment. If you guys are joining us live, don't hesitate. Drop us your questions. We're here to address them as well. This is not just a three-way conversation. And obviously, if you're listening to the recording, please do feel free to message us, get in touch with each single one of us. We'll always be happy to take your question and to share a little bit more about our experience. One thing I'm curious about, Joel, because I do remember the notion of never give up. I think when we talked about resilience in the past, there was this part of fight, this notion. Uh, what changed? What were the things you experimented or spoke about that made it evolve this way?
So the never give up stays there. Never give up on the whole thing. That's for sure a non-negotiable to me. But the letting go of smaller things within that big thing is a thing that I now talk about. As in, if something is not working, if something is not serving you, if something is not as it should, the adaptation might as well be simply ended and not get back to it. I can give a couple of examples. So I think that's what's changed. So, for example, in the context of business, you might be doing X, Y, and Z in your marketing as a service or whatever, and if it's not working, that's why I see a lot of people tend to force it to make it work, as in not giving up on it, and that adaptation, that change, oftentimes is okay. This is not working. This is not serving anyone. I'm going to stop it. I'm going to let it go and move on. So I used to see that as a failure, almost like I couldn't make this work. So I'm failing. The client is failing. What is happening? And now with that resilience, might as well be, and it is. Like it's not a failure, the adaptation, the bouncing back is letting this part go and moving on with other things. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of reframing your way to look at things of just like, of course, you've got your objective, but also the journey is part of the objective. What have you learned from it? And essentially, I think that's what keeps our sanity, is the fact that we can get excited about learning new stuff, like not just being who we are and that's it, but actually, what, I might have started a new project and I can't get there, but I've learned a hell of a bunch of new skills that I didn't have before. And just for that's great. It was worth the fight, I want to say hi to Olia, hi to Danny. Please do drop us your questions if you have any, or just share with us your own definition of resilience in the comments. Would love to hear from you. But Dan, what was a time that you can resonate with this? Where the learning kind of like saved you.
Do I have to pick this one? Okay, can I just jump onto Joel's point as well about don't give up? I am someone who hates the term don't give up because to me it's inactionable. But when you started talking, I was like, we've got the same ideas on this, because what I actually prefer is a Japanese saying, Nanakarobi Yaoki, which means fall down 7, get up 8. And that's kind of my view on how that kind of thing operates, is continually bashing your head against the brick wall, doing the same thing and getting the same results doesn't help you sometimes. Sometimes you've actually got to look at things, step back and go, is there another way to approach this? I have failed at this several times. Can I get to my objective via a different path? And this is kind of like my whole ethos on how the journey kind of operates as well. And so to answer your question, yeah, absolutely. So during COVID, just before COVID, I was working very heavily in travel tech. So I'd specialized and niched into the travel tech sector. And you can probably imagine where this is going. So first day of lockdown, I lost 90% of my clients in an afternoon, which was, as we refer to it, less than ideal. It was not great, not fantastic. So I took an afternoon off to swear heavily. And then I looked at things and went, what can I actually earn from this? And I went, okay, what I'm doing at the moment is just busybody design work, just doing templates and, presentations and this kind of thing. And yeah, they're a big company, they're paying me well for it, but actually it's not where I want to be. I want to be telling stories. I want to be, pushing the strategy side. I want to be looking at, people's purposes and their visions, why they got into what they're doing, why they're doing that, why, their vision is so important. And so what I did was went, well, I've lost 50% of my clients, so no one's going to give a shit if I double my prices for starters. So I took that as an opportunity to double my prices, start looking at what I needed to learn to get into this kind of sphere. And then by the end of that year, that financial year, it was my best financial year to date, despite losing 90% of my clients at the start of it. So you can really use these opportunities to learn and to grow if you just look at them as an opportunity rather than a setback.
And that is like something that both of you guys must see with your clients, that not daring to charge more or to be even more creative about what they're worth or what they can be exploring with their offering. Do you see that sometimes, and that's a question to both of you, of course, do you see that sometimes the human resilience or the lack of training of it, because I definitely support the fact that it's a skill that can be developed, is holding back some of the people that you're working with?
That was actually one of the questions that I had for you. If you thought that resilience was something that could be not taught, but like trained, nurtured, and all of that. And the follow-up question to that is that, can you measure resilience? Like, am I more resilient than you, or vice versa? Is that something that can be measured, or is it something that exists as a whole? But do I see it in our clients? Yes, I unfortunately have a folder of client projects that never even saw the light of day, because even before we launched, something happened, things got too real, and that's it. That's where the project not even started. That's when the project stopped. It takes a lot of you as a human to run a business, as we know. It's something that is deeply personal. No matter what people tell you, business is always personal in every way you look at it. And we often don't pay attention enough to that factor, to that part of it. Yeah. Now, after all these years, even on a first discovery call with someone, I can sense this is great. You're super excited. You want to start something, but with a short conversation, we can see this is not gonna work with you. If this is gonna work with you, you're gonna need to find a way to build this resilience, to find this resilience in you. Because I can sense that at the minor inconvenience, at the minor setback, you're gonna put everything to the side and go back to whatever it is that you were doing before. Yeah, and that's why I have a folder of Evernote Drive, actually, full of projects that looked great, had everything to be a success, except the right person running it. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's a shame.
And there's something super powerful in what you said, that it got too real. And I think that's a big trigger in many human realities, especially relationships. This is where we hear about it. People complain about dating or relationships because shit gets real, people run away. But actually, this is the relationship with ourselves. Sometimes when we need to build a personal brand and we need to put ourselves out there, gets too real and too scary. This is it.
Exactly.
I'm in the spotlight now.
Exactly. That's exactly what I mean. Because, so sorry to interrupt you, but when we're in the strategy phase and planning and getting all the ideas in order, it's all great. Everyone is super excited. I'm going to conquer the world. When we put the posting schedule on Notion, and this is what you're going to do, this is what you're going to be talking about, a lot of people start to vanish. And mind you, these are people that have paid me thousands of dollars to get to this point. So the money is not even the thing. They've paid a lot. We're talking about 2-3 months projects. There's a lot of time, a lot of money invested. It gets real, and they're already afraid. So this tells me that this is someone that is not, or doesn't have this resilience in them at all yet or ever. That's why I see it as a non-negotiable these days. Like it has to be there.
Yeah, resilience is a hard thing to measure in a sense. I am sure there are many scientific studies that have been built or experiments on the topic, right? But I think where you're coming from with your question around it is probably how can you tell earlier on with a client or a prospect if they are ready to get on to really putting this project live, and if not, how you can probably help them get to
Exactly.
that finish line, right?
Exactly.
Um, and I think maybe some of the coaches in here would probably bring up the questionnaire or the initial sessions that you would have, in which you would have embedded certain questions to demonstrate the curiosity, or how badly you want something. And they can be very excited at first, but to measure how far they could go, I think you'd probably look at resilience in that capacity to learn new things, right? And you'll be able to tell very early on, or from the conversation you ask about that person, how quickly or how fast they have changed things, how quickly or how fast they have been moving from a project to the next. If someone is telling you that they've been working on a project effortlessly for 2 or 3 years and they've been learning some new skills, you probably know that they have that capacity to learn,
Yeah,
or what I would
that's a big one.
call a growth mindset. This mindset that helps you think that you can achieve that, you can learn anything and develop your resilience, obviously, in the thing. That doesn't mean that it's innate. Some people have it in the way you're brought up. You can grow up with this capacity to learn and be curious about the world, but not necessarily. I was someone very terrified about learning, and it's still something I deal with. I remember the day where I had a fixed mindset, sitting in the sofa at my ex-partner's home and just thinking, this is it, this is my life. I was 30 and I thought that was it. I had arrived. I could not learn anything new, that I did not want to go back to school. And when you think about it, you just be like joking, like, who are you? Who the fuck is that person? Um, and I see you laughing, Danny. Is that,
We
have
don't call me
you
Danny. Sorry.
how
That's the one that's the one non-negotiable. Never call me Danny.
so Dan, how often did you, there's something I can learn. Uh, did you find yourself in that situation where you faced the fact that you just had to grow and there was no other way?
Yeah. See, it's interesting because I really like learning things. I'm very curious naturally. Too curious. It gets me in trouble a lot of the time. But it's a trait I've always had. But I've also been one to, again, as you said, run away when shit gets real. Basically, when I was younger, especially, I wasn't very confident. I was quite shy, and I was also quite flitty in some respects. I'd sort of change on a flip of a coin. I'd just be like, I no longer like this thing. I want this thing now, and that was very difficult to kind of come to terms with. So it meant that I was often very chaotic, and that instilled this problem where I wouldn't stick at things for long enough. I'd go, first sign of trouble, I go, no, this isn't worth it. This isn't worth bothering with. This isn't worth trying. And so I just go, sod it, we'll drop it. We'll just do something else, basically. And it took a while to rein that in and really grow that resilience to things, basically, because I think, yes, absolutely, like, you can grow that resilience. You can definitely, it's like it's like a muscle. It's like anything else. The more you work at it and the more you work it out, the stronger it becomes. And that does mean that sometimes you have to put yourselves into situations where you have that fight or flight response, and you have that discomfort, and you have those feelings of things just not being right. But you have to go, I have an objective behind this, and I want to push through, and I want to get to it. Now, that might mean I have to change direction a bit, but it doesn't mean I have to drop everything and just go back the opposite way. So for me, really, like, this is funny enough, what my business has taught me more than anything is that I do have that resilience in me. I just have to train it, and I just have to keep it going, and understand that, yes, the reason we do this is because that once we're through it, we're in a completely different place. And then my curiosity can take back over and go, what's this new interesting place I can explore? How can I learn from this? What can I learn in this area? So it's an evolving cycle, really, more than anything else that I found.
What did your clients teach you about this? Because when you have clients, it's not just you and yourself, right? You start a project, you kind of have to get to the end. How did that play?
Well, yeah, I mean, I make myself sound like I've got, like, no respect for anyone, which is not really the case. But no, it was, yeah, that was very helpful. I having that curiosity and that artistic kind of nature meant yes, when I was a kid, I would start 100 things and I'd finish one, and that was and obviously for running a business, that's no good whatsoever. So yeah, definitely having clients and then fixing in deadlines made me realize, especially when it comes to creative work, that forming boundaries early and creating strong briefs and things of this sort of nature were really important for my resilience, because it meant I could still maintain that kind of rebellious curiosity and that part of me that I really liked, but it wouldn't then take me off into the hills, into a position where I'd go, well, now we're completely off track and I don't know where we are. By creating those boundaries, I had enough space to be creative and to be, different and interesting. But I could also then stay on task, and again, building systems and building ways that I work and systemizing kind of my processes and things like that are things that I learned over time to go, okay, if we start here, do this thing, then that will naturally lead to the next area where I can do that creative bit, or I can do this really interesting bit, and then that'll lead into the next area. And then before we know it, we're finished, we're done. So yeah, it was really a kind of a process of learning myself and learning kind of how I operate in that system.
That's a very, very interesting point, because when you mention something that can seem like almost like a weakness, and you find your way to transform it into your strength, because I guess that's like the fuel of your creativity as well, having a mind that bubbles all the time, you find a way to give it the space to be this dynamic and have that stable accountability piece that allows you to deliver on point and on time as well. That's a very interesting thing. I'd like to take us just a little step back and ask you to, what's the common biggest mistake that people actually do when they either come to you or even like when they begin thinking about branding and personal branding? And I separate these two because I know that you guys receive people that come to you for branding and they don't realize the importance of how personal it is.
It's almost cliche, but the biggest mistake still is, and relates to what you're saying, thinking that it should be done this way, that I should act this way, that I need to be this person, that I need to put this mask on, that I need to act or present myself in this specific way to succeed. And even with the endless examples of the most successful people in companies, they're the ones that don't follow any structure or actually rules, and they're fully themselves. Those are the most successful in any industry whatsoever. But still, people need to, oh, I need to be professional. I need to dress upright. I should. The only thing that you should is show up, is appear. How you do it, it's entirely up to you how you want to do it. Are there any guidelines, small best practices that we should pay attention to? Of course. But it's a very small list. It's a very short list. Everything else should be, and it does sound cliche, but I haven't found another way of saying it. It needs to be fully aligned with you and who you are. Dan talks about dragons. I shit and swear a lot, like shit on a lot of people and swear a lot because it's natural to me, just like it's natural to him to bring that side, that nerdy side of him. Like, look at our backgrounds. That's a representation of us. And funny enough, I always laugh on the first call with a client. Oh, Joe, what's really drawn to me is that you're so authentic and blah, blah, blah. You're so you and you're so real and blah, blah, blah. And then I tell them that that's what they need to do, and they shy away immediately. Oh no, I can't do that. I need to show up properly. I need to, and that's the biggest mistake that I still see. And it's a shame. It's a shame. People still think that way, especially on LinkedIn. Oh, it's LinkedIn, it's professional. I need to do this, I need to do that. Like, have you seen my content? Have you seen what I talk about and how I talk about it? Yes, that's what's drawn me to it. And then what the fuck are we talking about? Right? It's really something. Yeah.
Does it resonate, or do you see other things that also creep into people's limitations on that?
Yeah, it's we're going to find this, aren't we? Where I'm just going to go, yep, what Joel said, basically.
I'll alternate between you two. I'll give
we'll
you
alternate answers, and we'll just go, yes, I agree 100%. It's just kind of to add to that, there's kind of a whole courage piece with this, I think, in that people will, I find the same. People come to me and go, oh, Dan, you're so different and weird in a nice way, and it's and it is nice. It is nice to have people notice you, to go, I wish I could do that, and you sit there and go, you can. You just have to recognize your vulnerability. And I think people are afraid of doing that, especially in business, especially where they have to use the word capital P, professional. I fucking hate that word, by the way, because it doesn't mean what it should. To most people, it's just grey suits, but I'm like, no, it's just what you do. But to me, that kind of piece where people just clam up because they're afraid of what other people will think of them, is really the sticking point. And that's the point I try and if I have to, I drag my clients across that line to get them to where they need to be, because I go, there are going to always be some people who think negatively of whatever you do. Do you stop doing things because of their opinions? No, you don't. You keep going in spite of that. If I stopped at the first hurdle, I'd have stopped at 4 years old when I first started getting bullied. I'd have been like, oh, I've had enough of this. Right, I'm just going to stop doing anything. No, I lived that weird persona for the entirety of my school years and my university years and my early work years. And everyone's like, you're just a weird dragon guy. And I'm just like, yes, that is me. I don't care. But that courage, again, comes from that resilience. It comes from going, actually, what is the worst that could happen? Some people will think I'm odd. Okay, fine. That's all right. Because these other people over here, they think I'm great. And I like those people. So I want to stick around with them. And I think there's a whole thing around, like, especially in kind of, corporate and professional kind of circles, where you have to be in with the in crowd. And it's high school all over again, basically. and yeah, I feel like you just want to be the antidote to that sometimes, and you just want to give people a shake and go, who cares? It's a popularity contest. Oh, good God, who cares? There are plenty of people who I will never come across because they hate my work, because they see the first thing they see about me. They see the name, they see, the brand name, they see all the fantasy stuff, and they go, ew, not for me, thanks. And that's great because I never have to deal with them. And that's what I want for all my clients, is for them to be able to go, that's great, I don't have to deal with the naysayers because I put them off early, and all the people who come to me are fantastic.
Yeah, a strong brand strategy equally attracts and repels people.
Yes.
And that's a conversation I have all the time as well. Oh, but what will people say? And I will have all these people. I'm like, cool. Do you want them around you? Not even as clients. Like, do you want those people around you, like, at all? Oh no, I fucking hate them. Then again, what are we talking about? Like, I have a question in my process. I don't know if you have that, something similar, Daniel. When we do the competitor analysis, it's a whole thing, 2-hour thing. And I have a question at the end that says, pretty simply, are you willing to go head to head with your competitors? And by that I mean, in offers, in products, if that's the thing, in a live session, in a comment section, if they call you out in a post, like, how do you act? Because I need to know if we're really ready for that, because it's especially in posts and in comment sections. I ask, like, what happens when you get a stupid, silly comment? How are you going to handle that? And it's not a matter of if it happens, it's a matter of when, because it will happen. I've seen people with 200, 300 followers get shit comments. Like, the more visibility you get, the more stupid people you'll attract. It just comes with it. How willing are we to deal with that situation? How do you handle that situation? That's a conversation I always have throughout my process, because it will happen. I don't have a client that stayed active on any social media platform that didn't get ridiculous comments. And yeah, that's a conversation we always have. How to handle those things. Is it just block and delete? Is it an opportunity to show how you handle those people? That's what I like, because I don't give a fuck about Johnny Pants 69 that left a stupid comment. I care about how you handle that situation, because that shows everyone else how you handle a situation like that. That's what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
And that's for
Seeing
sure.
the
Resilience bit.
Yeah, seeing who that person and their personality is, I guess, because you need to know who the person is in order to help them with their brand, right? So you have already that kind of getting to know session, which is crucial. You mentioned sensing a little bit when people have fears and when they worry about what other might think about them. Do you think, or do you feel, have experimented other fears that might be holding people back from going fully with their branding?
Yeah, I think, in fact, I feel like this really is an empathy thing and a feeling thing. Is you could see how people close up sometimes when it gets real. I think, as Joel was saying earlier, we're having that drive full of projects that are never going to actually see the light of day. That's not unusual at all. I've got those as well, because people hit that stage, see how real it's getting, but don't yet have the courage. Again, we're using this word, the courage to kind of just get going and get started and get out there, because that first step is always the hardest. Once you start on the journey, yes, you're going to get some knockbacks. There are going to be people who, as we were just saying, who are going to come into the comments and say something rude or hurtful or things like that. And that's part of the journey, and dealing with those things is part of the journey. It's just having the structures in place that you are aiming towards, and that are driving you, and knowing what those are, and knowing how they affect you, and how what you're doing is right, can just help push you along the first couple of steps. And then as soon as people start getting those steps under their belt, they really start moving and start feeling that courage growing. It's I've got a phrase I like to use. It's courage is contagious. And to me, like, the idea is that, and again, one of the reasons I show up unashamedly as this weird nerdy guy on socials and everything else is because I'm showing my courage doing that. I'm going, look, this is me, and some people are going to be dickheads about it, but I'm doing it every day, and you can do it too. And that it's kind of the leadership kind of program that I kind of, you know, inadvertently do is I'm doing it. I've been doing it for 10 years. You can definitely do it as well. If I can do it, if the guy who turned up his first networking event and stood shyly in the corner, just staring into the bar for 2 hours and managed to still get a client that night can do it, you can do it as well. So I think there's something to be said for people all across the board who go out and just be themselves.
And it's hard to be themselves, right? It's this kind of like, so the same way, you know, when you hear keep pushing or keep going or keep fighting, that's the best way to go to burnout. Because if you don't change and adapt and learn in the process, you're repeating just an insane vicious circle. And in the same way as like be yourself, it can be quite triggering and challenging because a lot of us, it sometimes takes a lifetime to discover who we are. So it's an experimentation. How willing are we to, I was going to say play with ourselves, but it might not be the right room for this. Play with the idea of who we are and who we can be and experiment with that. And I think branding can be a great place to do that safely, to actually experiment even with archetypes. I think, Joe, we were talking about this in one of your workshops with Hedy, and actually understanding, okay, which type of person I am, and I want to reflect through my brand and go full. And I think when you have your brand representing it, it's like you're living it. You can embody that. And maybe if you sense that you're shying away from it, you can like ask yourself, what am I shying away? Is it because I don't feel like this is me? Or is it because I'm scared? What was one thing that you guys were super scared about that you actually ended up doing? We're talking about leadership by example.
Well, these things for sure. One of them. Took me forever to get on camera at all, online, publicly. And every time I say that, like, really? Like, the first time I recorded an Instagram story, I had the phone on a tripod here in the corner, and I had a piece of paper next to it. And I took, like, for an Instagram story. It's ridiculous now that I think about it. I was super scared of doing that. And because of that judgment, because of that, what people think. The same thing. We all go through the same things. I was already posting and writing stuff and doing my little carousels and whatnot, but then came video content. That's like the next step that I always see. You get comfortable with writing and posting, and then I tell clients, no, let's try video. Let's try talking to the camera, and that's all over again. The entire process starts all over again. Yeah. It all goes back to the same thing. The high school mentality is a very good metaphor because it really comes down to that, like being judged by other people. You know, LinkedIn is specifically hard because you're most likely someone that was in a job that quit or got out of that job and are starting a business, but your LinkedIn is filled with past bosses and colleagues that are watching. So that judgment gets like tripled. And I always say the same thing. Do we care about them? Are they potential clients? No, I don't care about them. What are we talking about? And second, you can delete all of them out of your accounts. That's actually easy to do. But yeah, judgment. Other biggest fear around all of this. I actually don't know. I actually don't know because this is also another interesting conversation we can have. I never had like a fallback plan or some safe bridge I could cross if all of this business had to work. I have nothing. I've never had a fucking job in my life. Like this is my life. when shit needs to work, you find a way of it working, and and it did. But I see a lot of people, and with clients and the projects that never even started, it's like they had a safe place to get back to. You know, they had a safe place to get back to if this doesn't work, and they safely retreated to that at the smallest hurdle. So I actually don't know. What would you say then? Like another fear out of this entire process?
It's really interesting you say about not having a job, because I come from the opposite position of having had too many jobs. I think, Muna, you alluded to this when we were chatting the other day, didn't you? Because you wanted to hear my insane employment history. But what that taught me is actually I don't ever want a job. So I came to a very similar conclusion, just from having done too many different jobs. But yeah, but and thinking about it when you were talking, then I was like, actually, yeah, that's like sometimes fear is a good motivator of courage. And again, another adage I use here is courage is not the absence of fear; it's acting in spite of it. You don't act because you don't feel fear. You act because you do feel fear and because you want to change that. And so for me, I came from a background where I just like worked with hideous, horrible, narcissistic bosses. And my kind of way of dealing with that at the time was to dig in and to just get worse, and was to just toe the line as much as possible, but just be there and be like, no, I'm going to make you fire me. I'm not leaving. You are going to fire me, and I'm going to get payout. And that's how I kind of operated it. So for me, that inherently instilled kind of a bit of a wariness of people. So my biggest fear was networking and sales and trying to communicate with people and trying to talk to people and going out and selling myself. That was my biggest fear, and hence why I mentioned earlier the first networking event I went to, because that I was entirely different. I mean, now I run, I own a part of a networking franchise now. That's something I never thought would be in kind of my lifetime at all. Because the first time I went, I was like, this is the fucking worst thing in the world. Why would anyone want to do this? And then the more I did it, the more I went, okay, right, fine. We're not going in and we're not going, I'm a designer and please buy my shit. We're going in and we're creating relationships and we're talking to people. And I was like, that I can do. I can do people. I can talk to people. That's fine. That's not a problem. And the more I did it, the easier it became for me to sort of talk about myself and to let those parts out of me. I do remember distinctly one person coming up to me when I'd been like networking for like 4 hours in one day for some reason, came up to me at a live event and goes, so what do you do? And I just turned around to him and went, I kill orcs in chainmail. And he was like, what? That's amazing. What are you talking about? And so we started talking about my LARPing and all this kind of stuff. And I went, oh, and to finance that, I'm a graphic designer. So I switched the entire script basically, and it was amazing. And he was like, "That's really interesting." And we just had this silly like chat about like orcs and all this kind of stuff in the middle of a networking event. And then when you realise that, you go, "Oh, these are just normal people with interests and interesting life stories." And the more you try and find that out, the easier it becomes to be yourself, because you go, "Oh, if I go in and I talk to people about this, I'm going to find some people. I've made some really good friends who are also into similar stuff that I am." First time I noticed Joel on the call, I noticed the Mario plushie, and I was like, "Oh, mate, look, me too, buddy." And you see that, and you start to see that more, and that to me was the biggest kind of learning point. The biggest fear I had was dealing with people and trying to network. And then when I realized, oh, we're just actually dealing with people, we're dealing with potential people who I can be mates with, we can do that. That's not a problem.
I love that. You know how like there's so many times when you get socially tired and you start thinking, okay, which story can I make up to introduce yourself differently? Like play a game and like see what is the biggest lie you can make about yourself to introduce yourself to people. There's actually thanks so much. Like we have people dining in from all around the world. We have Mexico, we have the UK, the US, and we have Belgium as well. Thank you guys. Thanks, John, Danny as well in the chat. Robin, hello. If you're still with us, please, guys, let us know if you were to make up a lie to have fun at a networking event. What would it be? Drop us your stories in the chat or in the comments. That would be quite hilarious. Um, I think I might just say that I'm a pimp coming in to scout for talents. But yeah, but even that, I think we're still having this. What you mentioned here is like almost having an armor again, protecting us from the rest of the world, coming into this place of discomfort and then learning to be more familiar with it. One thing that, Joel, what you say about like being on camera, that is the number one thing for public speaking. Number one exercise, everyone that comes to me on that front, is film yourself every single day. Whether you're live or not, just get in front of the camera and say rubbish and do it every day long enough until you get used to it and more comfortable to go to the next step. You learn by doing sometimes. Like some people need to analyze things and interiorize the theory, but actually resilience is something you practice and you learn by doing. Um, what are the things that you noticed your successful clients have learned to do with your guidance?
Look past every filter we've been talking about. Like, look past, okay, it doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be a specific way. There's no way that it needs to be. I need to do it. Anyone that can look past those walls and those filters and those armors, as you were saying, that you put up, can make this work. And by this, I mean the actual business, because there's a line here that gets blurred between the personal brand, the branding side, and the actual business. One is to feed the other. My most successful clients are the ones that really put that personality aspect really up front, really strongly. And I have names in my head, and it's so clear. It's so clear. And that goes for any industry, but especially in corporate, in a corporate environment, because I know we're in LinkedIn, that's mostly corporate. The more you put the self out there, the more you stand out, especially in a corporate environment, because it's so robotic still.
And is it a shield? Is it like is it because it's big personalities, or do they play with having a big personalities? Is it like a fake it till you make it, or
No, it has to be real. It has to be real. I've seen people, and probably some of them will see this live. I've seen people try to copy my shit, copy my type of post, my cadence, the things I talk about, the way I talk about. I've seen people try to take that and literally almost copy paste it with their own stuff. It doesn't land because people feel it. You cannot mimic personality. It has to be within you. The people I have in mind, the clients I have in mind, it was there in them. My work was basically find a way to show that, find a way to make them comfortable to show that. You cannot, I mean, I don't think you can. It's going to blow up in your face sooner or later if you try to fake it until you make it kind of thing. Because imagine that I'm a super enthusiastic person on LinkedIn, and I'm this and that, and then you get on a call with me and I'm dull and boring. People will immediately see that disconnect and say, oh, what the fuck is happening? I know that my work is going well when the first line out of a Zoom call is, oh, Joel, I feel like I know you already. I'm like, fucking A, that's what we want. But if they say that and I present them someone that is totally different from what they saw online, then the disconnect is going to be there. If you keep faking that all the way through, you're going to get fucking exhausted every day at the end of the day. Because faking someone that you're not is really hard. If you want to do that, if you think that's the way, think about all the jobs that you had where you had to put up a show and pretend someone you're not just to keep that job. Is that how you want to live your life? I think it's fucking terrible, especially for the business that you're building. No, I don't believe that one bit.
Yeah. So what you guys have to say to people who don't have big personalities? Because I'm pretty sure people are sitting here thinking, okay, well, you guys have found your ways and your confidence, and I'm here. I'm the boring guy. I'm not interesting. I don't have anything like big about me. What do you do with this? How do you take it from there?
You wanna go, Daniel?
Yeah, I'm going to alliterate again. So there's again another phrase I use. Your mundane is someone else's magical.
Exactly.
Just because you feel it's normal and you feel you've got nothing to show doesn't mean someone else won't see what you've got to offer and go, fucking hell, that's awesome. That's amazing. You don't need to be a loud personality. Again, like that, this is coming from someone who was a quiet kid who just I liked reading, I liked being quiet, I liked not sort of interacting with people. That was kind of my thing. You can have something interesting to say, even if you think you don't, even if you think you don't have anything interesting to add. There's definitely something which you'll come out with that you'll think is really normal and mundane because it's from your perspective, and someone else will see that and go, wow, that is incredible. I never thought about it that way. So it's really about, again, this, and I think this is what it all comes down to, is it's about knowing yourself and being comfortable and loving yourself. If you can get that nailed and understand who you are, you can then see the parts of you that are really interesting and different, even if it's quiet. You know, some of my best clients I love so dearly are people who have a very quiet ferocity. They're just quiet and consistent, and just always, you can always count on them for things. And those people are fantastic. And that, you know, they don't shout about themselves. And I really want them to, because they've got some really interesting things to say. But that quiet simmering ferocity is sometimes more important than someone who's loud and brash and bold.
Most people think they're boring. That's just what I wanted to say. Most of us think I'm boring as shit. Yeah. Because we've lived our interests our entire life. I was talking to Nathan on the Christmas party, and we were chatting for a bit. And what did you do? And we talked about, I do this, he does that, blah, blah. So, and then he asked me, so what else do you do? And I was like, oh, I like 2-3 times a year still I ride BMX, but like because I had nothing else to say, and I thought this is no one's gonna give a he's not gonna give a crap about that at all. And he was like, oh shit, I ride as well. And I'm like, what? It was like so, and then we talked like 20 minutes about BMX. And we were like, that's, you know, something to me that was boring about me, boring-ish. And then he had that exact same interest. If I had never voiced it out, that we had never connected about that. There are people confuse that, and I like what you said, Dan. It's not that you have to be loud. Loud doesn't equal personality. It's not because you're an extrovert and fully flashy and whatnot. That does not equal personality. I've met some very shallow people that are very.
The loudest people I've met have been the least interesting.
Exactly. Yeah. Everyone has something. Everyone has something that can be put up front and can be used for brand building for sure.
That's a very, very interesting and practical example, you know, especially to inspire the audience that the single little detail about your likes and your dislikes can make the whole difference. There's one thing that I really like to know about people is their values, right? Their core values, what helps you prioritize everything in life. And often we think we know it. But then when you, and I know that this is what one of the questions that you ask your clients around, okay, just try to determine the brand or the values that the brand needs to share. But I'm really talking about what leads you through life. You know, how do you decide today, this morning I woke up, who am I going to talk to? Who am I going to do business with? Who am I going to be? What are these key values? Because that's what's going to fuel eventually your brand if it's being you. And we think we know it, and then off the cuff is very hard to just say that. So in the audience, if you know what are your three key values, please drop them in the chat. Hello and morning to everyone who's just joined us. It's so good to see you. Thank you for joining. We have two amazing guests, brand strategists, and coming to share their wisdom, but also not only talking about work, but we're talking about people and the humanity that goes behind, you know, putting your brand out there, the brand of you, building yourself in public in order to attract people to your business. As if you're a solopreneur or even as an employee, your brand is what sells you. Today, it doesn't work to just apply for a job and send a CV. You're fighting against thousands of other people for each role. So what works is what you're saying, who you are showing up as. And these values can be quite helpful. So have a think about it, drop them in the chat or in the comments, even send them to our experts. Maybe you get something started. Were you always clear about this? Like, how the fuck did you figure that out? Because that's people are there like John, thanks for answering. John is sharing his values, enthusiasm, integrity, collaboration. Like, guys, how did you figure that out? How did you figure out, okay, these are the key things that matter to me? Like, give us something juicy here, because people sitting at home must be wondering, okay, I am the boring one. I can get less boring by sharing my passions or stuff I like. But how do I figure out who I am?
It's a very deep question. It's a very deep question. Let me jump in real quick, but I'll let you answer first then. What people trip over the most here is that they confuse musts with values. Integrity is not a value; it's a must. Like, if you don't have that, please go fuck yourself. The professionalism, the outgoing, all of those are almost musts. They're non-negotiables. You can start there, but like, what do you actually mean, and go a couple of steps further. That's where you find your values. A good distinction that you were making is like your personal values and your actual brand values. Or brand values are connectors between you and the audience that you want to talk. They're things that both of you value because you're most likely the same kind of person. So you'll value the same things. What drives you as a human being, even before we talk about anything branding or business, that's where those business brand values come from. So if you want to talk about that, that's a much deeper conversation, but we can definitely go there. I don't even think I have three. That's where it gets interesting. I don't even think I have three. I have eagerness, and that goes for almost anything in my life. Like, I just want to go, you know? I want to travel. I want to build this. I want to meet people. I have this eagerness about everything about my life, and something that I haven't found the word yet. It's not positivity. It's not silver lining. I usually say the thing, the half full glass kind of person, you know.
Optimistic.
That to me is I don't know.
Maybe
we can talk about it. I haven't found an exact word for it. It's like, throw me the worst shit you can think of. I will find something good out of it. And that has been driving me my entire life. I've also been bullied. I've also been the bully, which is an interesting thing I've been exploring. Because a lot of bullies don't realize that they've been bullied. And as we talked about the high school mentality, there was definitely anarchy in my school. I got bullied by the very top kids, and I was right in the middle, bullying the really bottom kids. Like, it's so fucked up. Whenever I think about it. But even in that situation, I found something positive out of it. You know, um, so I have these two. I don't even have three. I have these two things, and everything seems to stem out of these two: the eagerness and the half full cup type of person. And I see it so clearly now, after years of thinking about this shit and writing about it and going into it. I see how everything stems out of these two traits, values, whatever you want to call it.
So it seems like, it's another lifetime of discovery. So when someone comes to you, you guide them through the process for their brand, but there's kind of like some deep work that also needs
Yes.
to happen.
Yes.
I think that's a really important point.
You'd be surprised how many times I just want to say, before we go on with this, and I'm not joking at all. Oftentimes I'm like, a couple of therapy sessions before our next call. There's a lot of here that needs to be unpacked, and I'm not the right person to be talking about this shit. I have people crying, I have people laughing, I have people exploring some very deep shit out of the questions that I prepared to work on the business. Because it's, again, personal. That's why I said it's always personal. Like, oh, it's just business. It's nothing personal. It's just business. I'm like, what? It has never made sense to me. It is personal, and yeah. Sorry, going on a tangent here.
No, intensely so. I was going to say basically the exact same thing. Weirdly enough, this digging does. So the way I view it is that values are often based off of veins of trauma, because they tell us what we won't put up with. And that's where our beliefs and values come from, is that kind of area. So digging for values means we are coming close to these trauma veins. And absolutely, I've been in exactly the same position where I've had people crying, I've had people laughing, I've had people who I've gone, please go and see a therapist about this, because I'm not qualified to touch this part. This part is way beyond me. I've even had one client turn around 2 weeks after our session and say he had been to his therapist, and his therapist had immediately said the moment he'd walked in, you've changed. So this work we do is very personal, it's very intense, but it's also incredibly liberating. It's amazingly important, because you can find things out about yourself that you've been hiding for years. And I think that's where the core real value comes from, and the real values come from, is doing that work and finding what you actually believe in. And when you discover that and put a name to it, you can start acting on it, and that brings you confidence, that brings you that courage, that pushes you forwards.
Do you have a personal human? Have you ever thought about that? Not the business, not the brand. I'm sure you have those. We all have those. But like for you specifically, then something that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I did a midway through kind of like running the business. I did a lot of work on myself on this, because I went, right, where am I misaligned? I'm still feeling frustrated. And that base frustration was caused off of misaligned values and not understanding what I actually wanted, and trying to push myself and aim for something I didn't actually want, because I thought that's what was expected of me. So changing that freed me, basically. It freed me up completely. And it's funny you say enthusiasm, because I say adventure for one of my values, but it's a similar idea, but it's of a different spice because of how we kind of look at it. So it's really interesting.
And even just in this space, we've had like 3 different terminology for that, like enthusiasm, adventure, eagerness. And I'm sure if we asked John in the chat to define his values and what he meant by his values, we can maybe find a different definition that would lead us somewhere else. Quite often when we do the value exercise in coaching, we always ask the definition, because there's multiple words that can define the same thing. But what's most important is that you know what it means to you. is that's where it starts. That's all that matters. Your values are not here for others, but your weirdness is like the beacon outside to be like, where is my tribe? Where are my weird people at? So we can find the same weird and be together. um, and it is something like I could talk endlessly, but I'm very conscious as well for the audience that we're reaching the hour already. I could like have you here for 3 hours, no problem. There is always something very very personal and practical I want to leave the audience with. Something that changed your life really drastically in this process. Maybe it is the process of finding yourself. Maybe it is some friction that you had to overcome. Maybe it was the moment you had to go to therapy and be like, okay, this shit has to stop. But if you can share that with us, I'd be very grateful to let our audience know that we're all humans and there are some turning points. What would that be for you?
I think for me, the point where I started respecting who I actually am rather than trying to be someone else for other people was a really big turning point for me. That led to kind of the self-love aspect and being able to really align with who I actually am. And that's what really broke the dam on the shyness and the quietness, was actually going, oh, actually, I'm very happy with this person and I don't want to mask anymore and put that mask on for everyone else. I want to be honest and open with it. And it opened up, yeah, definitely I lost some friends and lost some people because of it. But then you went, well, the people who are left, the people I've actually got and the people I've met since then are much better friends because they know the real me. They know me and my values and who I am, and my beliefs. So doing that bit of work, and even though, as I said, it was uncomfortable, doing that bit of work and understanding who I am and what I actually desire and what I want was really important, because that let me then start living that rather than living that kind of fake persona.
Yeah.
So all of that, exact same thing, in from 2020 to 21, mid-pandemic. I went through all of that as well, and on my personal life, obviously. And then that led to me rebranding my own business. And because I wanted that to reflect in the business side. And that made me fire every client we had at the time, literally, and start over in 21. Because I was looking at our client list, I'm like, I don't fucking like you. You're a fucking prick. You can go fuck yourself. And I'm like, this is not normal. I've built this business myself, for ourselves, and I don't like the people I'm working with. Like, what the fuck is happening? And so we started scratch in 2021. But because the months before I went through that same journey that then went there, and that reflected on the business. A lot of the rebranding projects, are because of that, because something changed in the person. The
Yes.
person became aware of something. The person changed somehow, not changed, but finally was made aware that he or she can be the way that they want to be. And that has to reflect in the business. Otherwise, you're going to feel a huge disconnect there. So yes, those first months were tough, but now I only work with people that I absolutely love. I'm meeting one this afternoon here. Jackie is coming here from the UK, and like that would never happen with our past clients. Like if they would come here in my city in Portugal, I was like, oh, I'm out of town. Like that's what I would say, because there's no way I'm gonna. And now I'm like, we're finishing this session. I'm gonna do a couple of things here, and then we're gonna have lunch. I'm like, what? That's amazing. I've had clients stay over with us and explore Portugal top to bottom. Like that to me is amazing, because I really do see these people as friends, as close friends, some of them. And and that came from a similar journey there that I went with myself. Yeah.
I guess it's like the moment where you stop settling for certain things that you did not want, right? And I guess a lot of your clients or prospects or people in that folder that didn't go live are still having that friction maybe with themselves and sitting in a life that doesn't really serve them yet fully and still needs some work to be more confident about or learn about who they truly want to be. It's not easy to figure that out. I guess from a mindset perspective, it really comes there, like you burn yourself out trying to fit in a box where you're forcing yourself to be put in, probably because of some trauma that led you to behave that way in the first place. And eventually you find freedom and the courage once you understand what are these pieces that kept you locked in this. Why do you need to people please? Why do you need to say yes to things that you actually don't want to say yes to? And once you start unraveling that, getting closer to yourself, you can then put that self out there and find your weird, find your tribe, find the people that actually you do want to work with, because there's nothing worse than working with a client that do not share values that you agree with, or that, like you say, are the bare minimum of humanity. So that's important. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me today. It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you, everyone in the audience. This was the Grid Makers episode about building a resilient brand of you. And if you please have any question about branding strategy or even anything that led our experts into where they are at today, don't hesitate. Go, please find their profile, follow them, add them. I'll be sharing the links all down in the description of the video. So please do connect and don't be strangers. We'll see you next